Hello, everyone. Welcome. Paulette Henson here, and I am super excited to bring to the stage of three against one. Right now, it's three of us, and we are waiting for the gentleman to uh, grace us with his presence. But I have Tara Bennett Smith. She is award winning director, producer, writer, actor, and speaker. And also, Miss Stephanie Bailey, who is a self love coach and author. And she's the CEO of Miss Adventures LLC. And of course, I am your host, Paulette Henson. I'm the CEO and founder of BWA Magazine and Publishing LLC. So, welcome today. We are all excited to dive in to some just conversations of everyday situations, relationships, life, all of that, and just be real about what's going on. And so, with that, let's start it off by number one. Um, we are in our 50s plus, right? We're all here in our 50s, and things are different. Things have changed just in how I was raised and what the relationships and all of that I saw coming up. That is not what it is today. Would you agree?
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there, and introducing Mr. Omar Tyree, who is a New York Times best-selling author of Fly Girl, and he has a number of books out. So welcome, Tyree, Omar.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get my lighting together now.
And
Let me
Omar,
see
you
here.
know your camera is Instagram way as opposed to the wide way. You do know that? Is that cool?
Say it again. Instagram
Your,
is a.
your camera is going the vertical as opposed to wide.
Yeah, there we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
there we
Yeah,
go. How you doing?
that's
All
and
right.
that's even worse light. I'm trying to get the lighting together here.
Maybe
All right,
flip
Okay,
it
got
around
you, got you.
so that the light is facing you.
hmm
So if you flip around, that looks good right there.
There we
okay.
go. It's not a glare.
Yeah, it's just because of the time. Yeah, the time. It was okay. I
I
got it.
know.
All right.
All
Let's see
right.
us.
All right. So, welcome, 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 everyone. So, we're all super excited to get this show on the road and just to have some conversations about love, relationships, and just life in general. And so, what I had kicked it off with was basically the times have changed, and everything that we know to be true is not what it is today. These young people are different. They don't communicate, they don't talk versus, we pass notes in class, we were very verbal, we communicated in the physical realm versus on the phone, and so I think for me, that's one of the things that I find annoying is that nobody wants to talk anymore. They just want you to send them a message or text or whatever. So let me know your thoughts on that, and we'll just go from there.
I mean, I agree. Times have changed. I remember back in the day, somebody had to call you or knock on your door. They had to put more of an effort in versus Snapchat and sending, a picture of flowers versus actually bringing you flowers. I mean, I definitely feel dating in this decade and age is very lazy personally. And I really find that there's a lot of chivalry. And I also find that women have that metabolism, mental, not mental, what am I trying to say?
The mentality of
Thank you. That's it. Yes. That like I can do it all and I don't need a man. But then when the man doesn't really do anything, then they complain.
Mhm.
well, I you know, I think it also varies based on, where this particular woman is in her phase of life.
True.
Because I think, you get to a place on your journey where things that we tolerated, and I'm talking on both sides, but things we tolerate, we just are tired of tolerating things that we were taught because this is what our parents did. And I remember one of my ex's mother told me, because the guy was just anyway, I remember her telling me, go in the bathroom and cry, because that's what I had to do, because his father was like this, so that's why he's the way he is. So just don't let him see you cry. Go in the bathroom and cry. And I remember looking at her thinking, you think your son is worth me crying in the bathroom over her, as opposed to just saying bye? But in her mind, because her way was, what we don't do is ruffle the feathers. We just ruffle the feathers. We just want to keep the situation intact and keep our mouths shut. And I think that, as women have had to come more to the forefront of paying bills and helping out with the family, because the economy has gotten so bad that everyone is contributing. When you get to a place where you no longer choose to accept and tolerate the things that no longer service you as a person to be better, and you're in a relationship with someone who's not doing their own work, and I'm talking on both sides, then you're stuck in something where you feel like, what am I doing here? Because I'm circling, you're circling, but we're too afraid to go, let's get out of this so that we can both either flourish, or you can stay in your abyss of madness and I can stay in mine. So I think that there's a lot of things, there are a lot of different variables on why, we tolerate things that we never used to tolerate, like texting, and instead of picking up. I tell people, look, pick up the phone and call me. By the time I do this and put down the phone and you text me again, I'm doing something, I got to pick it up and do this again, put it down, and I'm trying. If I could have a conversation while I'm doing, right. I could be talking to you while I'm finishing my work. The text is also a cheap way for people to communicate, because they're afraid to be honest. And then they can put things in a text that kind of get away from being questioned.
That's exactly it.
Because there are women out there who need a lot of work on themselves.
That's my thought. And I also feel that a lot of it's fear-based. I mean, you think about it, people will tolerate relationships based on fear. They're afraid to say what they think or feel, because then the man might walk away. My opinion is, speak your truth. And if he walks away, he's not meant for you anyway. I've never, Paulette has known me, and I don't sugarcoat anything, because if a guy is going to be with me, he's got to be with all of me, the good, the bad, the slight crazy, because we all got crazy in us. But all of it, it's like, I'm going to speak my mind. And there's been plenty of men who couldn't handle it, and that's okay.
Very true.
And for me, so.
Yeah, Omar, you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Omar to say something.
Yeah, come on, jump in.
I just want to say this one thing, as you
take it all in.
The other thing with people not speaking their truth, and I always say this a lot. I tell, in my workshops and a lot of stuff, I always tell people, when you get to a certain age, you're no longer, most of the times when we were younger, we were afraid of getting in trouble. We get a beating or we get on punishment. And as people get older, they adopt that, well, she's going to be mad at me, or you're grown up. You get to choose this journey on how you want to do it. And your fear, it's like, so what? If she doesn't like what you said, that means you're going to hide and duck, because eventually, as we know, we've lived long enough that the truth is eventually going to come out in some form or fashion.
Yeah, well.
So you give the other person an option to make a decision based on the truth, as opposed to your fear to standing in. You're not going to get a beat. Well, maybe depends on the person you're dating. But however, mommy's not going to come with the switch, or grandma with the switch and spank you because you told a lie, or because you don't want to do something someone's way. You have an opportunity to just speak up. I'd rather work from the truth as an individual than have to now, duck and hide and remember a lie and all that other stuff. Because anyway, Omar, run with it.
Yeah, you started off talking about, you didn't want to do what your parents did. That's positives and negatives, because now I remember being raised under duty as a young man, where your father told you, take out the trash, ain't no maybes, ain't no, right now, get in the car right now, and you didn't like that intimidation, but you had no explanations, you just had to do it. And so you become a dutiful man. Now, when you don't have that intimidation with young men, they're like, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I feel like it. I'll do it. And so now women are ending up with dudes that don't do anything the way they're supposed to, because they no longer have that, And then with young women, when mothers are not teaching them how to be with a man, they're making it up. They're making it up. And they have no idea how to sustain a relationship. And they're saying things to men now that their mothers be like, you said that to him? Oh my God. And you wonder why he's doing this and doing that. And so it's like, it's some negative things that we got from our parents, but some stick to it things too that allowed us to become the mature, responsible people that we became. Now I look at a lot of young people that's just making it up. The rules are all over the place. And this is why I can't really put a handle on it. Every time I'm trying to put, some type of absolute on it, there is no absolutes. Everything is about their perspective. And that just throws everything. Imagine if you went into a job where they change the rules every day. Like yesterday you could park here, today you have to park here. Tomorrow you might have to park across the street. You like, wait a minute now. I'm trying to have some type of uniformity, some type of regular practice to what I'm doing. And the young people today, they're making it up. So we have no idea of where to go with them, what to say, what not to say. It's just all over the place. Like you're in quicksand. You're drowning and you don't know how to get up and save yourself. So I'm learning something new every day with this thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind. One of the things that for me, I have begun to adapt in my lifestyle is that every relationship, whether it's you and your mate, you and your boss, you and your siblings, you and your parent, every relationship is really about a relationship with you and yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned is that people come into my life to teach me more so that way I can learn more about me, because they are a reflection of my fears, my this. Because if you notice this, most people pick the same kind of person over and over and over and over again, because that person is really trying to show you things about yourself that you are stuck in a certain way or you react a certain way. And so what I've adapted, that I want to be with somebody who's about, we come together to enhance each other's lives, so that when I'm with you, I'm in really a relationship to be a better me, and you're in a relationship to be a better you. And as we're working on ourselves, we're both growing together. I always tell people like this: we meet up like this, equally yoked. So there's a person who could be the abuser, and there's a person who's attracted to a person who abuses. Now, both people find themselves with each other. You never look at it as if, oh, this is something that I'm attracted to, because who wants to say that I'm attracted to somebody who abuses me? But if you really look deep, you'll find that I've had people who verbally abuse me. I've had people who physically abuse me. I seem to keep attracting the same type of person because I am that person. So until I do my work, I'm going to keep meeting up with people who look like this. So we meet up like this, we're equally yoked. When we look at each other, we're equally yoked. Then one day, I'm as the abusee decide, you know what? I don't want to be hitting my head no more. I don't want nobody calling me stupid no more. I'm going to do my individual work. So I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to work on, and I'm moving up here. So now we're looking at each other. We're no longer equally yoked. Now, this person does the same for them, because whatever reason, how they grew up or whatever they know to be true is their formula. If they say, you know what, I don't want to be a person that talks to people like this, I'm going to do my work. So now we're both growing. And when we grow up here, we look at each other again, and now we're back equally yoked on a newer level. So I think part of it for me, and this is what I've adapted for my life, is that everyone I meet is here to teach me more about me. And if I stop pointing fingers, saying you, and look at me, I can make the adjustments to be better. And if you no longer serve me, you will disappear. And it is always happening. But if you are really doing you, I'm going to meet you on another level, and we're going to be healthy. And all the things you're talking about, Omar, I agree with. You know, the things we learn from our parents, the things we learn, all of that stuff, and the things we don't learn, we will become healthier in ourselves, so that the things that my aunt or my family or whatever might have said to me, I pick and choose. Okay, this might be something great to bring into a relationship because I'm healthier. We're all just coming in relationships from the stuff from the blueprint.
The blueprint. I was just going to say that you talked about the blueprint in another show that you and I had, and it's so important because, like you said, when you meet people where they are, and you don't know their background, you don't know how they've been raised, what they've seen or not, their experiences or not, and so they don't tell you that, in the beginning. I mean, everybody has on, the man has on his tuxedo, and you got on your prom dress, and you're trying to impress. You're showing your best person.
Yeah, that gets you in trouble.
That the one that you really want to know about is, how do you react when things go wrong? How do you handle
Yeah,
situations and
no
problems
idea.
and the boiling point? You know,
Yeah,
I want to see that because
yeah,
that's the person that I need to know if I can deal with or not. Now, if you can't handle situations and you throw things and go off and all that, no, I can't deal with that. You know, because everybody has situations and problems and things that come up and that will push you to that point. And to Tara's point, you reach a certain age and it's about preservation of your happiness, you know, and not letting people take you out of your zone, you know, because we're all focused, we're all doing things and working and figuring things out and all of that, and you just don't have time for the bullshit. You
yeah.
know, right?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about projection, because you get a whole lot of that, and you got to think about it in old school ways. Boys were always the ones that had to talk to girls first. You know, in
Mhm.
fact, I had a conversation with my two sons who are grown now, and I used to tell them we go to the mall, and if you see a girl you like, you come up and talk to her. And my sons were like, "You just introduce yourself. You don't even know her." I'm like, "Yeah, if you haven't seen her before, you ain't gonna see her again. Like, you got to go get her." And that's a lot of pressure on the males.
Yes.
And so for guys, they had to learn what to say, what not to say. So we were always projecting, and you couldn't say the wrong thing to a woman. But that ends up getting you in trouble now, where they have what they call a game, where they have a definitive line of what they, it may not be true. It may not be who they are, but they're trying to score with this woman. And they've been doing that. I'm 56 years old now. We've been hearing this for what, like 40 something years. As soon as you turn a teenager, don't say this, tell her that, tell her this. And we do, and then we look at women and say they can't handle our real truth. And so the guys who are best at being politically correct and swimming around the real issues, they do the best with women, but that may not be the most honest man that you're going to be involved with. But it
Right.
doesn't matter. If he tells you things that you can't handle, he's going to lose you. And so all the smartest men know you cannot say that to her. You can't. So you guys, I don't know what percentage of the truth you're ever getting from men, because they're always nervous about losing you.
Mm.
But fear is a good thing. And I also feel that, showing just your representative is what I call it in my book, 99 Types of Guys, is like, that's the person that when you go into coffee or dinner, they seem perfect. They're telling you everything you want to hear. And they're literally wooing you, right? But not in the fullest, honest way, because you have to date quite a while before you say I love you, because you don't know who you love. There's habits that we all have that might be okay for us, might not be okay for us. And we tend to pick up people, and I'm going to go to Tara, like when we have relationships, every relationship we meet, so we're doing, here's me, here's the other person, we're mimicking how we feel about ourselves, our internal self-worth. So if you are attracting people that are abusers, if they're emotionally, physically, mentally abusive, if they're narcissistic, if they're sociopath, there's something about ourselves that we mirror. And until we stop thinking those thoughts about ourselves, then we're going to continue to draw those people in, not just as, companion, but also friends, even
Mhm.
family, right? And then we surround ourselves with these people that are like us, so that we have an excuse to still have that same mentality, that same thought process of this is who I am. And
Mhm.
people have a hard time breaking through, because when you break through, that means you are actually choosing yourself. Like Tara said, you're choosing yourself to finally say, I deserve better. And that's hard for a lot of people.
The change,
So
yes,
to
absolutely.
change.
The change, we're more comfortable in being what we know and comfortable, because it takes a lot of work. I had to do it for myself. So I'm not speaking about anything that I have not experienced. And that is why I kind of I wrote a book based on my journey and the work I had to do so that I could become my bigger, badder, bolder, better self. You know
Right.
what I mean? And that is not an ego in an egotistical way, but how do I be better in a relationship if I have one? Now, the last person I dated, I really became, I always tell people, our lives are a script. Everybody, so we scripted out this whole day today. You scripted out your day, you scripted out your day. As a filmmaker, that's what we do. That's what I do. Everything is a script. I write who I want in. If I don't like you anymore, I'm going to write you out. You may not, when you call me tomorrow, you're out the production. You didn't even know you were out but you're out the production. So with that said, there's so many elements of us controlling this narrative, but it becomes more comfortable to be in the script that we were given because we were living it so long. A lot of my blueprint was from my family. I didn't even realize that a lot of this stuff was habitual because I was just doing what I know to do. And then one day when I got sick of it, I had to really step aside. And this, as I was saying, the last guy I was dating for 2 seconds, and that's literally what it was, because I decided, I said, I want you to watch your life with this dude as if you're watching a play. So this is your script that you wrote because you invited him into your life. Now sit back and watch. And it became almost comical to watch the manipulation and the things and, all the things that you would tell him, look, I don't really like that yet. We just met. We don't need to hold hands walking down the street, things like that. And I would see the manipulation in his eyes and him trying to do things I keep telling him does not work for me at this moment when I just met you. So it was really having an opportunity to look at my life like a third fly on the wall and going, good. Now, this is when you won't repeat the same thing because you're going to step out of it to see it and go, I don't do that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't need you to tell me I love you at this age. If you love me, I will know it because I will feel it. Not because that's your representative showing up, and I use the same word. They show up to give us all the things they think we want to hear, especially, and I'm speaking now from a woman's perspective, that a woman wants to hear, oh, I love you. You're the best. You're so this, you're so that. And it's like, that so don't work on me no more because I will know if you love me because I will feel if you love me. And one way I'll know if you love me, if I tell you I don't like something, don't do it. I'm telling you, I don't like this right now. Right. So you can't love me and keep doing what you want to do because I already know now that you don't hear me and you won't hear me. So why am I going to get further involved with you when at this early point of 1 month, you're already doing everything you want to do?
Now, see, you bring up one of the points that I'm thinking about is there once upon a time, it was okay to meet someone in our younger self and hold hands. So somewhere along the journey, to your point, I don't need for you to hold my hand at first when you meet me. So what changed in that time? Like, remember when you were young, you meet a boy and that was the thing. You hold hands. That was the physical connection, was holding hand and maybe a kiss here and there. But
Yeah, that's
somewhere
interesting.
along the line, I guess of
You
all
know,
of
the holding hand thing, it depends on where you live, because I grew up in Philadelphia, we were not into touching. And I really noticed that when I went down south and I was in Charlotte and Atlanta, they really crowd a woman's space where they're all up on her. You can't do that in Philadelphia. We don't crowd their space. We talk to them. So we were like, hey, how your name? What's your name? So we lean over and talk. We don't crowd. When I went down south, they were crowding space. In Philadelphia, a girl be like, I don't know where you back up off of me. New York.
I'm
So
a
it's
New
like
Yorker,
we
and
have
I
this
agree with
space
that.
buffer. You don't crowd me. So I was used to that. But when I get in the South, now I'm speaking with a little distance because I'm from the North. And the Southern girls, they kind of felt like, well, you're not coming on strong enough because I'm used to being up north where we don't crowd the women like that. And so the whole holding hand thing, I'm not, because we wasn't used to holding. You not holding hand unless you're really in with that woman. But then you go to some places where they're more comfortable and they're more, you know what I mean, like that. They'll do that. In a city like Philadelphia, we were not holding hands to a person that we didn't know really well. And so I can have that off-putting thing physically, where I'm not as physically smooching and hugging and all that. And then some women that need that, They're like, well, Dad, Omar don't even hug me. He don't, and I'm like, I'm not used to doing that. You know what I mean? So I got to learn how to do that with you. And so it can go both ways depending on where you're from and how you were raised and all of that.
Right.
Can I ask
Right.
you a question, ladies? This is a question for the ladies. Do you think that it varies depending on who you are in your life and where you are in your life? Because I think that to your, and I'm from New York, Omar.
So
So, but
fine.
when I was
And
young,
so Stephanie.
oh, you from New York, Stephanie? Okay. So
No,
when I
I'm
was
from New
younger,
York.
when I was younger, it was cool to hold hands because it meant like, oh, he really likes me.
Right.
Older
Right. And
now, I don't care in the same way if you really like. I don't need that to show that you really like me. I think that because we know that that's smoke and mirrors when you're young. You know what I mean?
Well,
You
when
really
you're younger, if
sweet
you
girl,
think about it, Tara,
huh?
when you're younger, if you think about it, you are so like you like a boy, right? And you want that affection. But as I feel like as women become older, it's not about the holding hands, it's about the emotional connection.
Right.
If you don't have that emotional connection, you're not going to want to
don't want
hold.
to hold hands. No.
But when you're younger, you don't think about the importance of that emotional connection because you just want a boy to like you, or you just want to say that you have somebody that wants to hold your hand. It's a very different approach. I also feel with the Me Too movement that also has an effect. I mean, guys are also afraid to even go there. You know, they have to ask permission to even kiss somebody, which I think is like read the room. I mean, I feel like if the woman wants to kiss you, she's leaning in, you really have to ask, like she's like, rubbing your leg or touching your leg. I mean, I think there's certain points where you don't have to ask permission for every single thing if you're reading the room correctly.
Right.
So,
But a lot of men. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, you are Paulette's from California, you're from New York City, you're from Chicago, correct? And then I'm from upstate New York, and I just feel in our generation it was a lot different than this generation.
Yeah.
Oh
This
yeah.
generation, women are asking men out. Women are even proposing to men.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that's like, I'm not going to do that. You would need to propose to me because I'm so old school in a lot of ways, even though I'm independent in a lot of ways. It's like putting the two together.
Yeah. Yeah. Omar, let me ask you this. And I totally forgot what I was going to ask you, but I knew it was for you. So it'll have to come back to me. But I agree everything you said, Stephanie. Everything you
Yeah.
said. I know that for me, I want an emotional connection, and I can't when you're already trying to hold my hand and you're telling me, you're just what I've been looking for. I said, but you only know me 4 5 days now. How do you know? So to tell me that tells me that you're really not paying attention to what's real. You are caught in the idea of something. And that I no longer, I've done that too much in this lifetime. I don't want the idea of something. If we're going to try to make something happen, we got to get to know one another. Because what I found out is that you don't listen. So if I would have just jumped in and got all excited and all happy, I would have been looking at you a month later going, I can't do you, dude. So I think I had my question. It keeps going away. Anyway, go ahead.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I can say this about this. There's this new conversation about emotional intelligence, and I'm a stickler on that because again, I grew up with uncles, and the first thing I remember my uncles telling me when we're playing football in the basement, take it like a man. They did not want me crying every time I fell on my elbow, my knee, because grandma would holler down the steps, "What y'all doing down there?" And then would mess up the football stuff. So I learned at 4 years old that, and it was various things. Men do this, take it like a man, do not cry like a girl, don't walk like a girl, don't talk. So you learn that everything feminine, do not do that as a guy. Do not do that. And so then you get 25 years old, and the girl's like, well, you got no emotions have been pulled out of me since I was a kid. And then I played football, and you play football, again, hurting and pain. Dude, that's not the game for hurting and pain. You know what I mean? Like boxing. Philadelphia's a boxing city. So we had so much strength of not showing pain, not crying, not having fear. Then you get to date a woman and she like, this dude is hard as bricks, his whole because you grew up that way. So now I'm like, look, you're gonna have to give me a couple years with this emotional intelligence stuff, because we would learn that everything that was emotional was girlish and wimpish, and you don't do that. Do not do that. And the more you grow up around guys like I did, with football guys, my uncles, my cousins, and the masculinity of Philadelphia, do not do the girl stuff. Do not cry, do not whine, do not. And so you get to be a grown man, you trying to figure out how to do that, and particularly coming from a city where they can clown you for being too soft. You know what I mean? So then you're trying to figure out, how do I then negotiate that space with all this talk about being emotionally intelligent.
Well, and to that note, Mr. Omar, I'm going to add to that, because that is part of what women, as we get older, we're dealing with all the embedded emotional stuff that young men, because they were not allowed to feel, because they were not allowed to, they're not even in therapy, anything that
it's all bottled up inside.
And now we're dealing with the we girls, we talk to our friends, we talk to our mom, we cry on each other, we allow to release, but men have not been to that place. So now when you've been 50, 60 years old, you're asking somebody to be different, to open up. And I'm not even talking about crime, just saying, tell me how you're feeling. How do we get you past this stuckness? And they're like, I'm good.
Because I'm good. I'm good. And that is like the word for most men to say, I'm good.
I'm good. And that's not a
feeling doesn't mean that you're good. Right. I think that that's a lie. That's just to say that so that you won't go any further with it. Because we as women know when something is wrong with you. And then and we say, hey, what's the matter? Are you okay? Oh, I'm good. But you're drinking bottles of whatever.
Well, you got to look at the other side of that, because you got to look at age again. When you're still 16, it's not good to be all emotional as a guy. You're not going to benefit from that.
I know.
So women got to understand, like, particularly now, if you grow up, I find that guys that grew up with more sisters and more females, they know how to negotiate that space better than I do. Because I grew up with more, and I was around my aunts, but I wasn't around them the way I was around my uncles. I was around older women, but I wasn't around them the way I was around masculine coaches. You know what I mean? So it's different. Even in school, there was extra emotion coming from the female teachers versus the masculine teachers, who were more cool, less emotional. And so then you got to be around emotional women that were my teachers, and you didn't like them because they would emotionally snap on you. You get in the corner, you young man, and you didn't like that. Like, man, she be tripping, man. And it was the emotional women, because if you're a rough, headstrong boy, and I got that a lot because I'm an emotional, headstrong, passionate, and so they would always pick you out, like you get in the corner, and I'm like, what I do? Because they're almost like they're trying to break you, and it's like, yo, man, you're not. And so then you even going against women trying to break you, and then that makes you even harder and makes you not like her. But it's a lot of, when can you pick to be emotional? In Philly, in New York, in New Jersey, in DC, in Baltimore, in Chicago, like, dude, when you go, and so y'all gotta understand that we walking a tightrope in that situation until we get to a point, and then you so embedded in with it, you 30 years in, 40 years in, now you're talking about just let it out, man, just let it out, and you like, you got to be out your mind.
Well, I guess at that point, where do you start?
Crazy.
Like you said, you're 50, 60 years old. So you have like all of this built up, whatever, but the times have changed.
Oh, absolutely.
And so now it's okay, because everything that you're talking about, Omar, the men are doing it with a text message. So they're not saying it, but they'll text it to you.
Yeah, it's you, it's not me. It's you, it's not me. I got it. I need some time.
But men are also different now. Like, I mean, you think about it. Men are, we have men that are softer. Men that, I would kind of wonder if they did a draft, if any of them, the majority of them would be ready, especially like we're talking about this new generation. We're talking about men who want to be women, women who want to be men. I mean, it's all mixed up now. It's
Yeah.
very different than when we all grew up, where it's pretty much defined. Everything was
Mhm.
defined. Now it's like you put it in this big jar and you shake it up and you spill it out and you just wonder what you're going to get.
Is that a
And
good thing
so,
or a bad thing? Is that a good
you
thing that
know,
we go
I
ahead?
think that if I was younger and I was dating men who are more in touch with their feelings, but still could, I don't want to say be manly, because what does that really mean? But, they're in touch with their feelings, but they still have a backbone to them. Yeah. I mean, that to me is the perfect balance, because I feel in this day and age, you don't really want somebody who can't be open and honest and communicate their feelings. And sometimes it just takes the woman, honestly, to like bring that out in them. We're the
Mhm.
ones that have to sit down and say, okay, I can tell you're not okay. So we're just going to sit and I'm just going to stare at you until you want to open up. I mean, it really depends on who you're dealing with, because everything you're saying, Omar, depending on where you live, absolutely. But there's still men out there who are from Chicago or from New York or wherever that still can have both sides, especially if you grew up with your mother, or you grew up with a bunch of sisters. That can happen. But it's really, I find, open and honest communication that usually starts from women. Women have to be the ones that are holding that space and saying, it's okay, I've got you, and really letting a man be able to be vulnerable, because
And
nobody
that and
wants a man
that's
to be vulnerable and
that's
they
the rub.
and
That's
then
the
all of a sudden
rub.
they go crazy.
You have to have the woman that can handle it, that
And
can
Yeah.
they
take it.
and the
And you know,
trust.
We're
I
And
talking.
they
I
have
gotten
to
I
trust
got in
you.
trouble. Yeah, I got in trouble for talking about my mother. You were saying earlier, you date, the people you're used to. My mother was the oldest of 8. My father was the oldest of 4. So I grew up with a boss woman. My mother was the first to go to college. She was the one helping everybody else out. And she liked dominant men. And I'm going to say this, my father and my stepfather, both West Philadelphia Hard Rocks. And my mother told me when I was 9, I'm not dating a ugly man or a man that can't handle himself. But she was born in the 50s and grew up in Philadelphia. So in that era, man, you don't want no dude that can, and she had brothers and cousins who were crazy. So my mother's like, if you can't stand around my brothers and my cousins, I don't want to be with you. And so
Right.
I had these hard dudes, and now I'm the son. I'm the oldest grandson, by the way, on both sides of the family. So now I got pressure on me of they looking at you and you setting the example and all this stuff. So now I'm pushed forward, and then all my uncles taking me under their wing and they tutoring me for manhood, right? And so a lot of stuff you guys talking about compromising and be a lot of stuff that I am horrible at. I look at myself now and say, yeah, I was not raised to be the compromising.
Right.
My parents was always telling me, you were the leader. You were the leader. They're watching you. So I grew up that way, where I'm always handling everything. I'm the one that, if you need a problem, go get Omar. Some guy going to fight, go get Omar. Somebody need. So I was always the heavy. You see what I'm talking about? So I was never the one that's going to be. So even making decisions, I'm in a decision making. So I'm always like, we're going to do this. We're going to do. Now I meet women. I don't want you telling me what. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to. Well, what do you want to do? I've never really done that. So now
And,
I'm in trouble. Like, I don't know how to be, because I've been raised in such a way as a leading man. You know what I mean? In that position, when you're the oldest of the oldest, there ain't no getting around it for me. Yeah, I can't say, oh, he can take over. No, they were always looking at me. So it's
Well,
an awkward position.
look at the parents that we're talking about.
right.
When you think about our parents, the stuff that they had to endure,
Yeah.
between the,
In that
especially black,
era.
let's go to the black men, the stuff that they had to endure to demasculate, demasculate, the
That's good.
masculinity. Then, within the white world, all the stuff that they've had
Yeah.
to deal with. So there was a push to be, you got to be tough. You cannot
Yeah.
back,
Right.
because they've had to be so submissive to a world where people said that they were second class citizens. So let's just
Right.
start with that and
Right.
understand where some of that might come from.
Mm-hmm.
As my father, and also with a lot of the abuse, with their women and their wives, might have come from. It's like, I'm so angry. This is the only place that I can take out on somebody that I know that I may not end up in jail, or I may not get beat up by. So let's just start with that. My sons, I have boys, and part of my journey, that part of my journey was to raise them with a nice balance of understanding that if you don't deal with whatever you're feeling as you get older, and the longer you remain in a situation where you're afraid to talk, and I'm not talking about to everybody, you cannot be vulnerable to everyone, you can't be vulnerable necessarily to your male friends, but you have a safe place to come here and be vulnerable to with me. And when you were talking about women, that's where women come in as parents, as moms, or as an auntie, or somebody can come in and say, this is a safe place for you to feel, let's talk it out, so you're not carrying this with you till now you're 30, and now you're 40, and now you're 50, and now you don't have tools and to be able to let this stuff out of you, because eventually it's going to wreak havoc on your soul and your mindset.
Body. Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference in how, the raising was back then. All my uncles were the same way. Don't you cry, you're a boy. They told you, back in the day, the F word, the faggot word. That's what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
And hard.
I know the word.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? But nowadays, though, I think it's the responsibility of the parents now, and even the fathers who see that, how did that work for you, Dad? See that, what? You can come to me and be vulnerable, and it's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong, because now you're cleaning out the gook in your system that can carry with you for the rest of your life, and then affect your relationships. So, yeah, I think that might be, for me, that what needs to be a little bit of a just the upbringing and the belief system.
Yeah. Yeah. And over time, the parenting changed. The parenting became more lenient as women
Looser.
began to work, and they started becoming more independent. And somewhere along that line, the kids didn't see that structure that maybe we saw.
Fall apart.
And
Things fall apart.
It just kind of fell out. So now we're looking at, I have two boys. My oldest, he just turned 36. And I tried to, with both of them, they're men. I wanted them to be independent, know how to take care of themselves, know how to cook, know how to clean house, all of those things, just so that they can know that for themselves, to be sustaining until they met that mate or wife. And so,
well, they might meet a mate or wife now, and she say, "I don't want to cook. I ain't cooking. You cook."
well, and that's what happened. So the oldest one, his second girl, she didn't cook, she didn't clean.
Wow.
He was doing laundry, he was doing all this stuff and working, and he was frustrated, because they have a child, and and then they're, Mom, can you watch the baby for the weekend because Maria's tired? Well, she's tired of what? She's not doing nothing.
Wow.
And so
now, if I said that, I'd be in a world of trouble. And it's funny how women can say things that men can't say. I was listening to a conversation on menopause on a masculine show a couple nights ago, and a woman was talking about how emotional she got in that situation, and she kept talking about, sometimes I felt like I want to smack him upside the head. I just want, and she said this like 4 times, and I'm sitting there watching this like, if I even in a joke said I felt like smacking him, dude, and so that we can't do the same thing as men and women. We can't say the same thing, and guys know this. So it's like it's you walking on eggshells
and you
whenever
shouldn't be,
you're in those spaces
right?
where
But
you're
you
talking
shouldn't
about
be.
stuff.
It should be. Let's be real. We're adults. If communication is key, and if you can express how you feel about something, and if I don't like it, it's okay if I don't like
It's
it.
not okay.
Let
It's
me
not.
understand
I'm going to say
why
something.
I don't like it versus what it is that the reasoning why you're doing it. I mean, I think that there's a space in there because that's like saying, okay, it has to be my way or the highway. And I don't think that's fair when you're talking about two people.
But there's a lot of double standards out there,
Right.
and men are the winners of double standards. You know, you will have a man that's like, oh, I've slept with 1,000 people. Oh, but if you slept with more than 5, I can't be with you. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of double standards that men do. And I agree. It should not be where women can just say whatever they want to say, because clearly, if a man was to say, you know, that he wanted to slap somebody up, yeah, that would be taken very differently. But again, times have changed. Parents are afraid to parent. I have 2-step kids. I'm not afraid to parent them. I'm not afraid to ground them. I'm not afraid to do any of that, because at the end of the day, I want them both to leave this house. One is now second year of college with the tools and practices that I've given him, and be the best human he can be. Because let's keep it real. All kids can be assholes. So are you trying to raise a kid that's a little bit less of an asshole or a bigger asshole? Parents
Well,
just step up.
the elephant in the room is that the kids will play you.
Oh yeah.
They play one against the other. They'll play the especially if you got another person and you're not with the mom, or the dad is with someone else. They play that like a fiddle, and if you're not aware of it, you will find yourself in the middle of something where you're trying to now you have to be advocate, because like Stephanie, to your point, if it how you were raised and what you know to do as a person for young people to succeed, and you're trying to instill that, and if your partner doesn't agree with that, then that could be an issue, right?
You have to be on
Because
the united
you have
front.
two different types of upbringing in your library, or two different types of ways that you feel. Teenagers, they need to have structure. They need to, you got to be on them. You can't just let them go off and play video games and run their own thing. Because then you'll be surprised at some of the other things that they're getting into.
Right.
And so all of that, we kind of morph this into, how kids are raised, how they come up, and then now you have kids, or you're a stepmom or stepdad to kids that aren't yours, or mentors or whatever. As
I want to jump back on that point, Paulette, you made about, it's okay, when you disagree. It's not okay for men. I'm going to tell you, because see, I would say a lot of things that women would disagree with, men would disagree with, because I'm that confident to say it. But there's repercussions that are tremendous when they don't like what you say. And so you have to, and I said this, I was on a podcast with brothers the other night, and I said, it's almost like it's ingrained in your biology. Do not piss off a woman that I have to mate with. And I'm telling you, it's in the guys. He will not say something where he feels he's going to lose out on this woman. And that every guy knows that. And they check other guys. Do not say that, man. Do not say that. And it's all about our ability to mate with you. And they can't explain it like that. But trust me, it's biological. Do not say something that's going to put you in the outhouse where you can't make a child with this woman. And so
I
we're
think that
always
that's
thinking,
awful
even if
though.
we can't explain it, even if we can't explain it, the repercussions of saying the wrong thing for a woman is kryptonite to a man.
And can I say something on that? I
Go
agree
ahead.
with that. When I don't know, for me, I don't necessarily see it as biological. I think it's a learned behavior
I
that has
think so
now
too.
become what people think is something that they can't shift. And that's why when I go back to every relationship is about a relationship for you to learn about you. So when we start to look at that as our beginning self work, that, yeah, you know what? I have to do this for myself, This is less about what you're going to benefit or, yeah, I want to be with you. But in the long run, if I'm going to continue to pretend to be small or keep my mouth shut, then what kind of relationship is this really that I choose, that I want to be in? So for me, it's not really biological. We all come here with a clean slate. We are given blueprints. We are given belief systems, and then we run with them. And if you don't have somebody as a male or even a female that says to you, yeah, but look at it this way, and do the work for yourself, you will always be under the belief system that this is something I can't control, because if I control it, then a woman's going to be mad at me. Well, sometimes maybe that's for your highest good. Maybe that's not a relationship that you really would want to have, because it's not for your better self. And I think that most of us come into relationships, thinking this pie in the sky thing and not really looking at it as, okay, I'm here to really just grow and be a better person on the journey of mine, not on our journey together, because we will be better together when we both do the work. Because as a woman, you could come to me and say your truth, because I've done the work.
Right.
We will be able to have a conversation, even if I don't like it. I will hear you in a different way.
Exactly.
But that takes individual work, because I walk into relationships trying to be my better self. So if you're telling me something, and I always tell my kids this, I said, you're the common denominator anywhere you go, and the same thing keeps happening. Number one, you're the common denominator, because these people who are doing it to you don't know each other. Right. So why does it keep happening every time you show up? Then that's something for you to look at. The other thing is, take everything as an opportunity, especially when something stings you or when something hits you and it makes you feel uncomfortable. That's an opportunity to look within. But most of us want to go like this. Well, if I'm not going to say it again because she got mad, or I'm not going to say it again because he gets pissed off, that's an opportunity to grow as an individual. Then the relationship will have an opportunity to become something more than the same old blueprint that we all keep saying we're in. So that's how I believe, just based on my life.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Well, I just
for men.
I have met men.
I just feel that communication and I hear your point, Omar, and I don't think that's right. I think to your men friends, I think that, well, depending on the woman, and at least for me, I love to communicate. I actually like to debate. I don't care if you say something that, like I may not be comfortable with, or I didn't like, but I want to hear the why, or where that came from. I want to hear the whole story. And so I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to, I'm mad at you because you said something. Let's go deeper. Where does that come from? Why did you say that? And I think
you sound like a magazine. You sound like a magazine publisher. I'm gonna tell you right now. Well, you want to know why? Let me tell you something. I got in trouble on a podcast in February, and I got a lot of female friends. I write books. They got females that read my stuff all the time. My female friend from Philly that I've been cool with from high school, she said, Omar, do not tell them women why they don't want to hear that. Just apologize and let it go. Just apologize. And I said, look, you know why I said it yet? She said, yeah, Omar, I've been knowing you since high school. I know why you said it. They don't care. Apologize and get off. So that whole why thing, I am a why man as a writer. That's why I write, to explain everything. And my sister was telling me, and she's like a month older than me. So we both 56. And she was in high school with me the whole night. She said, Omar, they want the apology. They don't want to hear nothing about what you got to say. And I'm used to explaining things. That's what I do for a living. And I was like, and so I'm like, you mean I can't? She was like, no, apologize and move on. They don't want to hear it. So what you're saying, you sound like a publisher, but trust me, other women don't want to hear it.
But Omar, what about sometimes it's also, and I'm not saying this is your case, I'm talking about in relationships. It's also how things are said. Sometimes people say things with making the other person wrong, because everything is just about our own beliefs, right? I believe this, you believe that. So sometimes when you sit down with somebody, instead of saying, well, you don't know what you're talking about, this is what it is. And that's why I lead a lot of times with, this is my experience. This is
Right.
my experience.
Right.
So this is what I believe because I've experienced this. Now you can
Right.
take with it what you want. You can take with it, or you don't have to take it at all. So then there's no need to say you're wrong for the way you're feeling, because justifiably so, everybody believes the truth is what they believe in, what they're saying, because that's their truth. But
Mhm.
Right.
sometimes it's your truth because it's all you know, and you
Right.
haven't had another experience. So if you've been in an experience with someone who has allowed you to communicate, and you now found this person because y'all both have done your work, and I have male friends like that, where we can sit and we can talk, and sometimes we clash, and then we go back, you know what? Okay, let's pull it back. We
Yeah.
have come because we have done that kind of work on ourselves. We allow each other the opportunity to be in that space. But when you have not yet, and you say something to someone, and it appears that you're saying that they're wrong, you get pushback, because who says that you're right?
Right. And who are you to say that I'm wrong? That type of thing. It's the whole attitude behind that.
Yeah, I got a friend, a masculine friend, and he had this thing I told him this morning. He says sometimes when you win, you lose because the other person feels so dejected that they don't like you now. And sometimes when you lose, where you let them win, you win because now they like you that they won. And so he kept saying, he said, Omar, you being an A student, you being competitive, you being a writer where you trying to get things right all the time. Again, I'm looking at things as absolutes, right? And right now we're in a perspective, there is no more absolute. So I'm born to say, what's the answer? What's the answer? And you got 10 answers. I'm not used to that. As an A student, I want the answer. And so now I try. And so a lot of people get around me and like, well, my answer's not right. My answer's not. So I had to learn that just last night. You know what, dude? We got a million perspectives. So everybody's right in their own world. But it's like I wasn't born that way. When you was in school, you got to have the right answer. And so with me being the dude that got the right answer, I still am locked in that what's the right answer. And it ain't no right answer. Now I'm like, oh, anything goes. And that's where we are now. Where now we got to do individual talking to everybody because there is no formula because everybody got an individual perspective. And I just thought about that last night. I was like, you know what? Everybody got a perspective. And it makes it hard to say what's right or wrong now. It makes it hard.
Well, it's right and wrong has been watered down. It's been watered down, but um, gosh, we could actually go on this forever. We have been talking for over an hour, and so let's do this again because this was really interesting. I truly enjoyed myself. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to take us off live.